Urologist, use bicarbonate like this and see what happens to your size. Explained. Hello, I am Jocelyn, a dedicated communicator specializing in the vital areas of urological health, male wellness, and the journey of maturity. Throughout my years of practice and outreach, many within this community have come to know me affectionately as Dr. Jocelyn, a title earned through my unwavering commitment to calmly, openly, and thoroughly explaining topics that, regrettably, are all too often avoided or shrouded in silence during typical consultations. My mission revolves around shedding light on the intricate truths concerning intimate size, the complexities of circulation, and the myriad daily habits that can either robustly support or stealthily sabotage your overall intimate health and vitality. Today, we embark on a deeper exploration of a particular subject that consistently sparks immense curiosity and often considerable confusion: bicarbonate. This ubiquitous white powder, a common staple found innocently in nearly every kitchen cabinet, a substance your grandmother likely employed for 1,000 practical domestic purposes, has now infiltrated the digital sphere, appearing prominently in viral videos that boldly promise nothing less than miracles for your intimate size and potency. My profound hope is that by the time you reach the conclusion of this comprehensive discussion, when you inevitably encounter phrases like "use bicarbonate this way and see what happens to your size," you will be equipped to greet such claims with a serene, knowing smile, fortified by a clear understanding of what genuinely holds true, what constitutes a baseless myth, and, crucially, how to utilize this common substance with the utmost responsibility to genuinely nurture your body rather than inadvertently inflicting harm. For an extensive period, a persistent and often misleading narrative has been meticulously perpetuated, suggesting the existence of some elusive right trick, an impeccably formulated perfect cocktail, or a mysterious homemade recipe purportedly capable of fundamentally altering your intimate size, as if the human body were merely a malleable substance, akin to clay ready to be reshaped at will. This misleading discourse frequently features discussions of various baths, specialized massages, and intricate mixtures, incorporating ingredients like lemon, vinegar, and of course, baking soda, operating under the deeply flawed premise that intimate tissue is merely a balloon that can simply be inflated to greater dimensions. However, the profound reality is that the human body, a marvel of biological complexity, simply does not function in such a simplistic, superficial manner. The fundamental parameters of intimate size are meticulously determined by a sophisticated interplay of genetic predispositions, intricate hormonal balances established during critical developmental stages, and the foundational influences of early life development, not by ephemeral substances you might apply topically at 50 years of age, or a powder you choose to ingest at 60. What can and indeed does change, often quite significantly, is the efficacy with which intimate tissue fills with blood, the intrinsic quality and robustness of your erections, your inherent self-confidence, and your overarching vitality. And it is precisely within this realm of functional improvement that daily habits, encompassing certain responsible uses of baking soda, can exert an indirect supportive influence, though emphatically never in the grossly exaggerated and sensationalized manner it has been frequently marketed and sold to unsuspecting individuals. I deem it absolutely essential to commence this discussion by articulating a fundamental truth with unvarnished honesty and absolute clarity. There exists no credible, serious scientific evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that baking soda, when used in isolation, possesses the capacity to permanently increase intimate size. Let me be unequivocally clear: there is no such thing as a baking soda cream, no baking soda bath possessing magical magical transformative properties, nor any miraculous beverage concocted with baking soda that can fundamentally alter the underlying structure of your intimate tissue. What genuinely does exist, however, is a perilous and insidious cocktail composed of aggressive marketing tactics, profound personal desperation, and pervasive misinformation, all strategically designed to exploit deep-seated insecurities that many men unfortunately harbor. One might ponder why this particular narrative proves to be so exceptionally effective and persuasive. The answer lies in the persistent reality that intimate size remains a topic heavily laden with societal shame, the corrosive impact of comparison, and a pervasive culture of silence. A multitude of men erroneously believe they fall below the average size, when in actuality, a significant majority of them are comfortably situated within the entirely normal range. Consequently, when an individual emerges offering the seductive promise of increased size through the application of a remarkably inexpensive and readily available ingredient like baking soda, the temptation to succumb to such a belief becomes overwhelmingly powerful and difficult to resist. My paramount role today is not to peddle yet another ephemeral trick or quick fix, but rather to empower you to reclaim genuine control over your health and well-being through informed understanding. Before we delve into the potential, albeit limited, ways one might appropriately use baking soda, it is imperative that you possess a foundational understanding of what this substance truly is. Chemically speaking, baking soda, known formally as sodium bicarbonate, is a ubiquitous salt renowned in the culinary world for its distinctive alkaline properties. Its widespread application in baking stems from its ability to release carbon dioxide gas when combined with an acid, thereby acting as a leavening agent that causes dough to rise, producing light and airy baked goods. Beyond the kitchen, its classic and well-established medical application has historically been as an antacid employed in specific acute situations to effectively neutralize excess acidity within the stomach, offering temporary relief from indigestion or heartburn. Furthermore, in highly controlled hospital environments, it has been judiciously utilized to correct very specific and potentially life-threatening pH imbalances in the blood. Invariably, under the meticulous supervision of qualified medical professionals. In the specialized realm of sports science, baking soda has garnered attention and undergone extensive study for its potential as an ergogenic aid, functioning as a buffer that assists in neutralizing some of the lactic acid and other metabolic byproducts produced during bouts of intense physical effort, theoretically delaying muscle fatigue. In essence, it becomes abundantly clear that bicarbonate is unequivocally far from being some mystical, all-encompassing magic powder capable of miraculous transformations. Instead, it is a precise chemical tool endowed with clearly defined uses, specific potential benefits when applied correctly, and, crucially, clear and documented risks when it is abused or misused. Now, one might naturally inquire, what conceivable connection does this chemical compound possess with your intimate health, and more specifically with the topic of intimate size? Herein lies the crux of the intriguing part of our discussion. The male intimate response is fundamentally dependent upon an intricate and harmonious interplay of several key physiological systems. Primarily, it relies upon robust and efficient blood circulation, optimal nerve function, and a well-balanced hormonal state. Consequently, anything that actively contributes to the enhancement of your blood vessels' overall health, the maintenance of healthy blood pressure, the optimization of your metabolic processes, and the reduction of systemic background inflammation can collectively promote the attainment of firmer, more reliable erections and facilitate a better, more complete expansion of the tissue you already possess. It is crucial to internalize that this process does not entail actual tissue growth in terms of new cells or structural elongation, but rather allows your existing anatomy to express itself to its maximum functional potential. Conversely, anything that actively sabotages or impedes that vital circulation, such as an excessive intake of dietary salt, uncontrolled hypertension, high blood pressure, a persistently sedentary lifestyle, the presence of obesity, and and the detrimental habit of tobacco use will inevitably diminish that crucial blood-filling capacity, directly impacting erectile quality. So where does bicarbonate fit into this intricate picture? If utilized naively, indiscriminately, or excessively, baking soda can introduce a significant and potentially harmful amount of sodium into your system. This increased sodium load can adversely affect your blood pressure, placing undue strain and overload on your kidneys and, critically, on your heart. In other words, if misused, this seemingly benign kitchen ingredient can work directly against the very outcomes you are striving for: robust and healthy circulation and solid, enduring, intimate vitality. To vividly illustrate this critical point, I want to present you with a hypothetical but regrettably common scenario. Let's envision a 65-year-old man whom we shall call Ernesto. Ernesto, like many, stumbles upon a viral video online where an authoritative-sounding individual promises with compelling conviction that if he faithfully consumes bicarbonate on an empty stomach for a month, his intimate size will miraculously increase and his sexual performance will miraculously revert to that of his prime, as if he were once again 20 years old. Unfortunately, Ernesto, swayed by the allure of a simple solution, neglects to seek out reliable information, fails to ask critical questions of trusted medical sources, and simply copies the purported recipe. A large tablespoon of baking soda dissolved in water, consumed every single morning. After a mere few weeks of this regimen, Ernesto begins to experience a range of unsettling symptoms: persistent digestive discomfort, an unpleasant sensation of bloating, and occasional bouts of nausea. Yet, he stoically endures these physical complaints, firmly believing that they are merely an unavoidable part of the process, a temporary discomfort on the path to the promised transformation. As more time elapses, he notices even more concerning developments. He feels perpetually more bloated, his blood pressure begins to subtly but steadily rise, and his sleep quality deteriorates significantly. Alarmingly, his intimate function, far from improving as promised, becomes increasingly irregular and less reliable. What then truly transpired with Ernesto? He did not achieve any change in his intimate size, but he most certainly profoundly altered his internal physiological balance, tipping it into an unhealthy state. The excess sodium led to increased cardiovascular strain, elevated blood pressure, and a cascade of general discomfort throughout his body. His body was unequivocally signaling distress, yet he, driven by the elusive promise of a miracle, continued to chase a result that genuine science had never and could never legitimately promise. In stark and illuminating contrast to Ernesto's cautionary tale, I want to introduce you to another individual, a man whom we will name Luis, who is 58 years old. Luis also encounters the pervasive discussions surrounding bicarbonate, but he approaches the information with a discerning mind and makes a conscious decision to utilize it wisely. Crucially, he does not perceive it as a simplistic trick for intimate size enhancement, but rather integrates it thoughtfully as a complementary component within a much broader and more comprehensive approach to his overall health and well-being. Luis occasionally incorporates baking soda into his culinary practices, for instance, to judiciously reduce the inherent acidity of certain dishes, always ensuring that its consumption remains within prudent and reasonable limits. Above all, Luis possesses a profound and accurate understanding that his true and most effective remedy for intimate vitality lies in diligently improving his fundamental cardiovascular circulation. This understanding manifests in concrete, consistent lifestyle choices. He engages in daily walking, diligently manages his body weight, consciously reduces his intake of highly ultra-processed foods, actively employs strategies to handle and mitigate chronic stress, and, importantly, cultivates and builds robust confidence within his relationship with his partner. Luis might, for example, responsibly opt for a warm sitz bath, incorporating a mere pinch of baking soda into the water, specifically to gently alleviate mild superficial skin irritations, chafing, or minor discomfort in the external genital area or groin. Crucially, he does this without ever applying it directly to the penial tissue, without rubbing aggressively, and without harboring the erroneous belief that such a practice will somehow miraculously alter his intimate size. In Luis's informed perspective, baking soda effectively returns to its appropriate role, a gentle, supportive aid for skin comfort, not a tool for radical body reshaping. And it is precisely within this context of responsible, informed application that the product finds its rightful place, serving as a helpful adjunct rather than being mistakenly elevated to the status of a transformative protagonist. Let us now systematically address some of the most common applications of baking soda that are frequently, though often erroneously, associated with the intimate area, and critically evaluate what it can, or more importantly, cannot genuinely provide. A particularly frequent and generally benign application involves the practice of sitz baths, wherein warm water is combined with a small, carefully measured amount of baking soda. This method is primarily employed to alleviate superficial irritations, common chafing or mild, transient discomfort experienced on the external skin of the genital region. For certain men who experience conditions such as intense sweating in the groin area or possess particularly sensitive skin, this gentle approach can indeed prove beneficial by helping to neutralize unpleasant odors and effectively reduce sensations of itchiness. However, it is absolutely paramount to introduce a critical clarification at this juncture. These therapeutic baths exert their effects exclusively on the outermost layer of the skin. They possess no capacity whatsoever to penetrate or influence the deep-seated tissues or the intricate network of internal blood vessels. Consequently, they are entirely incapable of modifying anatomical structures, nor can they, under any circumstances, enlarge anything. What they can genuinely accomplish is a tangible improvement in overall comfort and a heightened sense of cleanliness and freshness. And here lies an important, albeit indirect, psychological benefit. When an individual feels more comfortable, cleaner, and perceptibly fresher, their self-confidence invariably improves. And when self-confidence experiences an uplift, one's subjective perception of their own intimate size and their performance capacity can indeed undergo a positive, albeit entirely psychological, shift. Another pivotal point of discussion pertains to the oral ingestion of baking soda. This is an area where the utmost caution and discernment are unequivocally required. Yes, it is true that very small, precisely measured quantities of baking soda, when taken infrequently and occasionally, can offer temporary relief for episodic gastric acidity or heartburn. However, the perilous mistake lies in transforming this occasional remedy into a daily ritual, or, even more dangerously, a habitual practice undertaken with the specific intention of enhancing intimate size or potency. Every single teaspoon of baking soda that is orally ingested contributes a non-negligible amount of sodium to the body's system. For a mature man who often already exhibits a pre-existing tendency toward conditions such as hypertension, high blood pressure, peripheral edema, fluid retention, or underlying kidney problems, this seemingly innocuous addition of sodium can, with alarming ease, tip the delicate physiological balance in a decidedly detrimental direction. The consequences can include an undesirable elevation in blood pressure, an increase in vascular stiffness, a condition where blood vessels lose their elasticity, and a heightened risk to the crucial intimate circulation. This outcome is precisely the antithesis of what is required to achieve and maintain solid, healthy, and reliable erections. Therefore, employing baking soda as if it were some form of male tonic or a panacea for intimate enhancement represents a profound misunderstanding and complete confusion of its actual physiological role and effects within the complex human body. At this juncture, I want us to pivot and examine the often fraught topic of intimate size from a refreshingly different, more realistic, and ultimately far more liberating perspective. When a man expresses a desire to increase his size, what he very often genuinely seeks is not an objective alteration in physical dimensions, but rather a profound inner shift. He desires to feel more secure, more capable, and ultimately more confident in his intimate responses. differences. What he is truly pursuing is not merely a change measured in centimeters or inches, but a qualitative transformation in his intimate experience itself. Fewer instances of perceived failure, a significant reduction in fear and anxiety surrounding performance, and an overarching sense of greater stability and reliability. And here emerges an insight of paramount importance. If your circulatory system is functioning optimally, if your blood pressure is judiciously and consistently controlled, if your blood sugar levels are maintained within a healthy and stable range, and if your nervous system is not perpetually overwhelmed by chronic stress, then your intimate tissue will inherently fill more effectively with blood and consequently maintain firmness for a significantly longer duration. So what then does baking soda have to do with this intricate interplay of factors? Potentially more than you might initially assume, but precisely not, because it facilitates growth or enhancement. Rather, its imprudent or excessive misuse can in fact actively sabotage the very circulatory health that is so indispensable for robust, intimate function. Consider for a moment your body as an incredibly sophisticated and delicate biological system, one that is perpetually striving to maintain an exquisite state of internal balance, known as homeostasis. The pH of your blood, for instance, a critical parameter representing its acidity or alkalinity, is maintained within an astonishingly narrow and precise range. The body is equipped with an array of highly sophisticated and finely tuned mechanisms specifically designed to achieve this vital equilibrium. These include the efficient function of your lungs, which regulate carbon dioxide levels, the diligent work of your kidneys, which excrete acids and bases, and a complex network of internal chemical buffers that neutralize sudden changes. Therefore, when someone irresponsibly promises you that merely alkalizing your body with spoonfuls of baking soda will somehow miraculously solve all your health problems, including profound intimate potency issues, they are engaged in a gross and dangerous oversimplification of an exceedingly intricate biological process. You emphatically do not need to attempt to fix your blood pH with improvised doses of powder from your pantry. What you predominantly and genuinely need to prioritize is to establish healthier sleep patterns, increase your daily physical activity, adopt a diet with judiciously reduced salt and sugar content, completely cease smoking, ensure adequate hydration through sufficient water intake, actively manage and mitigate chronic stress, and, when necessary, diligently adjust medications under the expert guidance of a qualified healthcare professional. These are the authentic tricks that truly foster and optimize your functional intimate size, the inherent ability for what you already possess to express itself at its absolute maximum potential. Now let us turn our attention to the imperative of using baking soda responsibly, ensuring it remains a benign household tool rather than unwittingly transforming it into a silent adversary of your vital circulatory health. First and foremost, approach it with profound respect. It is not a confectionery item, nor is it an innocuous dietary supplement that can be consumed without consequence. It is unequivocally a chemical tool endowed with tangible physiological power. If you choose to utilize it as an antacid, do so only occasionally, and critically, strictly adhere to the specific instructions provided on the product's label, rather than improvising disproportionately large doses gleaned from potentially misleading internet sources. If you suffer from pre-existing conditions such as hypertension, kidney disease, congestive heart failure, or if you are currently taking any specific prescription medications, it is absolutely essential to consult with your healthcare provider before considering its oral use. Should you wish to apply it topically to the skin, always ensure it is used in moderate dilutions with water, scrupulously avoiding direct application to the most sensitive tissues and refraining from any aggressive rubbing or scrubbing motions. Frame your thinking around soothing baths for temporary relief, not as a component of any supposed enlargement therapies. And crucially, if you observe any signs of irritation, persistent redness, discomfort, or any adverse skin reactions, immediately discontinue its use and seek professional medical advice if needed. To further underscore the profound disparity between perceived problems and actual solutions, I want to share with you the compelling story of Martin, a 62-year-old man who graciously presented himself for consultation and has given me explicit authorization to recount his experience anonymously. Martin arrived at my office utterly convinced that his most pressing issue was fundamentally one of intimate size. In his desperate pursuit of a solution, he had, like many, experimented with virtually everything he could find: various exercises, purported enlargement massages, and an array of homemade concoctions, including ill-advised mixtures of baking soda, lemon, and other dubious ingredients. These practices, far from yielding the promised results, had merely left his delicate skin irritated and inflamed. When I gently probed deeper, asking him what truly concerned him most, he surprisingly did not articulate his anxieties in terms of centimeters or inches. Instead, his voice resonated with deep-seated fears of intimate failure, the perceived judgment in his partner's gaze, and the profound shame he felt after a recent episode where he was unable to achieve or sustain a stable erection. Through our comprehensive exploration, we uncovered several critical underlying health issues: undiagnosed high blood pressure, a largely sedentary lifestyle, significantly poor quality sleep, and alarmingly elevated levels of chronic stress. His intimate size, it became abundantly clear, was definitively not the root of his problem. Rather, his circulatory system and his overwhelmed mental state were the primary areas that desperately required genuine help and intervention. We completely abandoned the misguided recipes involving baking soda and instead meticulously focused on actionable, evidence-based strategies, incorporating daily walking into his routine, judiciously adjusting his blood pressure medication under medical supervision, implementing measures to profoundly improve his rest and sleep quality, and, crucially, fostering an open and honest space for communication with his partner. Months later, while his intimate size remained precisely the same, the quality of his erections had become dramatically firmer and more reliable. And perhaps most significantly, his self-confidence and overall intimate well-being had undergone a complete and transformative positive change. This profound lesson is precisely what I hope to impart to you whenever we engage in discussions concerning your intimate size and what genuinely happens to it. What can truly happen with genuinely transformative results if you judiciously begin using baking soda wisely, which means primarily not for size enhancement, and more importantly, strategically focus your energies on cultivating overall holistic health, is a fundamental and empowering shift in your self-perception. You will gradually cease the fruitless search for miraculous shortcuts hidden within your pantry and instead begin the far more rewarding and sustainable process of building tangible, lasting results within your arteries, in the strength and health of your heart, and crucially, within the resilient framework of your own mind. You can, of course, continue to responsibly utilize baking soda in its legitimate roles as a valuable ally in your kitchen for cooking and baking, as an effective agent for various home cleaning tasks, and even in gentle diluted baths for the skin when superficial irritations arise. But you will no longer perceive it as a magical, transformative shortcut. Instead, it will correctly assume its place as simply another functional tool within a meticulously constructed, comprehensive, and evidence-based routine of self-care. There is another critically important aspect that I absolutely do not wish to overlook in this discussion: the profound significance of trust and open communication within a partnership. Many men, as they gracefully navigate the natural processes of aging, inevitably begin to experience normal, age-related physiological changes in their intimate function. These might manifest as erections that require a slightly longer time to achieve, a slower recovery period between intimate encounters, or intimate responses that are simply less automatic and spontaneous than they once were. Tragically, instead of openly discussing these natural changes with their trusted partners, many men succumb to feelings of isolation. This isolation often drives them to desperately seek quick, clandestine solutions online, inadvertently exposing themselves to dangerous and unsubstantiated advice advice and frequently undergoing practices that not only fail to deliver any actual benefit, but can, in fact, cause significant harm. For instance, such practices might damage the delicate, intimate skin, disrupt the crucial balance of the local microflora, or induce painful irritation in the sensitive, intimate area. Using bicarbonate indiscriminately, particularly in concentrated forms or with excessive frequency, can exacerbate these risks. It can lead to excessive dryness, severely disrupt the skin's natural pH balance and protective barrier, and paradoxically increase unpleasant sensitivity or discomfort. Imagine the irony of the situation. You embark on a quest to ostensibly improve your intimate performance, only to end up experiencing persistent discomfort from the simple, everyday friction of your underwear. That is unequivocally not the intended path to intimate well-being. Sometimes the single most powerful and genuinely transformative gesture you can make for your intimate health, and indeed for the health of your relationship, is to simply turn to your partner and utter those courageous words. I'm noticing some changes in my body. I want to take better care of myself. I would truly appreciate it if we could talk about this together. It is also crucially important to reinforce the overarching principle that true vitality and enduring maturity, particularly in the intimate realm, do not hinge upon the singular efficacy of one isolated product or one miraculous ingredient. Rather, they are the harmonious outcome of a magnificent symphony of interconnected factors, each playing its indispensable part. Your robust blood circulation, the very foundation of intimate function, benefits immeasurably from a meticulously balanced diet, one rich in vibrant vegetables, nourishing fruits, healthy monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, high-quality lean proteins, and significantly, deliberately low in highly processed and ultra-processed foods that burden the cardiovascular system. Your delicate hormonal balance, another cornerstone of vitality, is far better sustained and optimized when you consistently prioritize getting sufficient restorative sleep, when you actively and effectively manage chronic stress through proven techniques, and when you judiciously avoid excessive alcohol consumption. Furthermore, the health and responsiveness of your nerves, which are integral to intimate sensation and response, are significantly strengthened and maintained when you actively cultivate curiosity, nurture affection, embrace playfulness, and foster profound emotional connection within your relationships. Baking soda, or indeed any other solitary powder or supplement, simply cannot, and emphatically does not, replace any of these foundational pillars of health. However, when you consciously and proactively take the helm of your overall well-being, diligently integrating these interconnected pieces into a coherent lifestyle, all those disparate elements, your diet, your sleep, your stress management, your relationships, begin to align synergistically. And what you then perceive reflected back in the mirror is no longer merely an anxious preoccupation with size. It is instead a powerful affirmation of your presence, a profound embodiment of your genuine confidence, and an overarching sense of serene calm and self-acceptance. At this point in our comprehensive discussion, you might reasonably find yourself pondering a fundamental question. Then, is it genuinely worthwhile to continue using baking soda at all? Or should I perhaps simply remove it entirely from my life and kitchen? My answer to this query is elegantly simple and unequivocally clear. It is absolutely worthwhile to use it, but only with the utmost respect for its true, scientifically validated purposes, and crucially, to cease burdening it with exaggerated expectations and miraculous promises that fundamentally do not belong to it. You can, with complete confidence, retain baking soda in your kitchen pantry. Use it judiciously and occasionally to relieve mild sporadic acidity, provided that your overall health status genuinely allows for such use and that you consult a healthcare professional if you have any underlying conditions. You can also employ it for gentle, diluted baths on the skin when superficial irritation or discomfort arises, as we have discussed. But critically, do not, under any circumstances, allow it to become the misguided centerpiece of your strategic approach to improving your fundamental intimate health. For that profoundly important objective, you possess a multitude of far more potent, scientifically supported, and genuinely effective allies. Prioritize engaging in a brisk walk for at least half an hour each day. Regularly monitor your blood pressure and keep it within healthy ranges. Diligently track and maintain your glucose levels. Strive to maintain a healthy and sustainable body weight. Make the courageous and life-altering decision to quit smoking if you are a smoker. Ensure you drink sufficient amounts of water throughout the day to stay adequately hydrated. And perhaps most importantly, if you have persistent concerns or encounter challenges, do not hesitate to openly and honestly talk to a qualified healthcare professional who can competently guide you with appropriate diagnostic tests and provide evidence-based treatments tailored specifically to your individual needs. I wish to conclude this important meeting with you today with a clear, direct, and empowering statement. Your real, true, and functional intimate size is definitively not found within the confines of a box of bicarbonate. It resides, rather, in the robust health of your circulation, in the conscious and consistent choices you make regarding your daily habits, and, above all else, in the profound depth and unwavering strength of your self-confidence. It is truly never too late to reclaim your vitality and embrace your maturity with grace, to actively strengthen your intimate responses, and to cultivate a deeply fulfilling sense of contentment within your own body. However, the authentic path to achieving these aspirations does not and will never involve chasing after miraculous shortcuts or illusory quick fixes. Instead, it necessitates a steadfast commitment to conscious, sustained, and profoundly respectful decisions regarding your physical and mental health. If today you choose to decisively leave behind the empty promises and begin the truly transformative work of taking comprehensive care of your health from its fundamental roots, you are already embarking upon a gigantic and monumental step, a step that is immeasurably bigger and far more significant than any mere centimeter or inch that might be falsely promised in a viral video. If this message has resonated with you, if you feel it has successfully deflated some pervasive myths, but at the same time, crucially, ignited a new spark of hope and empowerment within you, I wholeheartedly invite you to engage in a period of thoughtful reflection on your own personal habits. Take the time to genuinely observe what tangible actions you are undertaking each day to nourish your circulation and foster your intimate well-being. I also encourage you to share this invaluable content with a friend, a family member, or anyone you know who might be caught in the frustrating trap of seeking miracle recipes, or who feels burdened by insecurities surrounding their intimate size. Sometimes, simply hearing a calm, honest, and scientifically grounded explanation is the most profound and liberating gift one can receive. And if you are eager to continue learning, to delve even deeper into these vital topics, and to take proactive care of your intimate health armed with clear, evidence-based information, I warmly invite you to subscribe to this channel and join me in our upcoming discussions. Here, we will steadfastly continue to talk with profound respect and without any lingering taboos about the fundamental truths that genuinely sustain your vitality and enrich your journey of maturity.